Alright, so this is the coding walkthrough video for Prototype 0.4. Now, a lot of the base code has been changed this week, mainly the camera and movement scripts. They've been completely overhauled. I also had a quick look into how the orbital mechanic for Leo, the main character of Starbeast, might work. So I'll show you that first, then go through the camera and movement changes, and then go into the actual code and show you how they were made. So, yeah, let's have a look at that. Actually, it'd probably be better just to do the camera script first, then I'll look into the orbital system. So that's what we'll do. So, as you can see here, we now have the ability to look around 360 degrees around the player. The player is now a cube, because we can now rotate the player, and we want to be able to see that we can actually rotate it, rather than having the sphere, because the sphere you can't see when it's rotating, or not easily anyway. So this control scheme is much better aligned for controllers, because you rotate with the A and D keys, or joystick if you have one, and use that to essentially steer yourself. Oops. And then the camera just is independent of the movement, and you can just see wherever it is you're going. And you steer with the A and D keys, move forward with W and backwards with S, and jump with space. So yeah, this is a much more controller-friendly movement scheme, which we all thought would be better for the game. It does work a lot better with a controller, but I don't have one to hand at the moment, so yeah, keyboard and mouse currently. Spin around, and then use the W key to go in whatever direction you want to go. Alright, so there's that, and now we'll look into the orbital system. Now, I only looked at this at the beginning of the week, because it didn't work very well with the previous camera that we had in 0.3. So obviously that had to be completely overhauled, as you see there, and that took up the rest of the week. So we have a very basic orbital system. But it is an orbital system nonetheless. Oh, where are we? Yeah, here we go. So all it really does is basically chooses a building, cube here in this case, and orbits the player around it. The orbit can be made bigger or smaller, pressing the W and S keys. Don't want to make it too big because it'll fall off the edge. So it's just like an automatic thing. This is mainly proof of concept at this point, but in future you'll be able to basically slingshot yourself, around. So yeah, I can make the orbit bigger, but obviously we'll get slung off there. Show you again. But as you see though, you do get faster as you move. As the bigger your orbit gets, the faster you go. So the idea behind that, as I say, is the player can slingshot themselves to different areas once the full game and orbital system is completed. This is a very, very basic thing right now. Alright, so now that I've gone through the actual changes, I'll now look into the code and show you how they were made, essentially. So we'll look into the orbital system first. It's fairly simple, there's not much to it. Basically we choose radius speeds and rotation speeds. Radius speeds is how big the radius is and how quickly you can make it bigger or smaller, and the rotation speed is how fast you go around it. So then what it does is finds a game object tagged with cube, which is one of the buildings, and then chooses the center of the orbit, which is the center of the cube, the building, and then it transforms the position of the player to rotate around it in an orbital-like fashion. And this is continued here as well. Transform.rotate around. We're very lucky actually, because Unity has a rotate around is literally rotating around it. We're lucky because it has an actual command that does exactly what we need it to do, which is brilliant. So this basically tells the whatever the script is put on, in this case the player, to rotate around the object, around the center, which we defined here, times the rotation speed, just how fast he's going, times delta time, so he's moving in real time essentially. And these ones then allow you to change the orbit, so you can move away from it, and then go towards it, using the W and A keys. It's fairly simple, it's nothing particularly complex at this point. This is the most basic thing, proof of concept that it can be done, essentially. So we'll then go on to the revamped movement script. Now, a lot of this stuff you'll notice here has been taken from the previous prototype, like the jump mechanic is still here, and the dashing with the resetting, etc. Yeah, if we look down here, it's pretty similar to how it was before. You've got the restart and the sprinting and the jumping, etc. The main thing that's changed is this thing here. We've got transform translate with the vectors times walking speed, which we've got defined here. The walking speed is 20f. And it uses axes so that you can use the joystick on controller as well as the keys, the W and S keys in this case. It basically allows for both of them. And then, but the main difference we've got here is that instead of moving left and right upon pressing A and D, as it did before, the player now rotates in that direction rather than moving in that direction. So we've got rotate speed, which is 100f there. So the player rotates in that direction, then they press W to go in that direction, rather than moving in that direction as they did previously with the A and D keys. This essentially allows easier joystick movement. So yeah, it's a simple change, but it allows us a lot more fluid movement and also controller support. The big thing that's been changed this week is the camera. So I'll go through this and how it works, and then do a quick demonstration again there. We've got a lot of floats here that basically determine how far away the camera is from the player, what you're doing with the mouse, what you're doing with the joysticks, and it records all of those and uses them to calculate where the camera should be and where it should go. Yeah, so it uses Euler angles and quaternions to do this, and in update here, we're basically defining the controller, the right stick horizontal, which is moving horizontally with the joystick on the controller, and vertically moving vertically, essentially. Because this script is moving the camera around the player in a 360-degree fashion, as I demonstrated earlier. So that's how you can do it with a joystick, and then we also define the mouse as well, so you can use the mouse if you don't like a controller. And then it has the final input, essentially how far the camera moves, as being either using the mouse or using the controller. And then what this does here is times that by the input sensitivity, how much you're moving it, times time. So it's smooth and you can move the camera around the player essentially. And then it uses the angles to calculate the mass behind that, and quaternions, etc. to calculate the rotation, how much it rotates around the player. So then down here we determine what the camera is following, which in this case is the player, and then how fast it follows the player as they move around. So as we press the W key or whatever to move around the map, the camera then follows on behind it. And that's pretty much what that means there. And the camera will get closer or further away depending on where the camera position is. So we'll just give that one final demonstration. Oh, no, we're still orbiting. Oops. Forgot about that. Where is it? Go away. Yeah. So move around here. And we can move the camera however we want, essentially. It's a lot freer than the last one. Now the player is no longer steered by the camera as was in the last prototype, because it works a lot better this way, essentially. Oop, I right-clicked off. Yeah, so combat still works, as you can see, although the Hydra is a bit buggy with the combat system. So really, it needs to be changed up to something like a giant cube or sphere, or even one of the assets for Starbeast, when we get those. So yeah, the Hydra will probably be gone fairly soon. That'll probably be something I'll do in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, combat all works great. And yeah, that's pretty much what Prototype 0.4 has been. Next week we're going to double down on the orbital system and hopefully try and get a really nice version of that going. And I'll show you how that works next time.